Hey guys and girls, it's Ken and Gina here from OKportugal, and welcome to another episode of Portugal Farm Life. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A episode, and our viewers, you the viewers, have sent in these questions over the last week. Now if this is the first time that you've ever watched one of our videos, I'm a South African, Gina's from the UK, and we live on this beautiful 3.5 hectare farm in the Castelo Branco district of Central Portugal. We've been here for just over 2 years now, and we're about to enter our second winter.
Third winter.
Sorry, our third winter, yes.
Yeah.
And that's why we dressed up all all like warm and like with hats and stuff like that.
It's chilly.
Yeah. So now that you know who we are and what we're doing, come and join us and we're going to run you through some questions.
The first question was, have we got any future plans or projects for the farm? And we've got loads, but the main one for us at the minute, as you can see, is this concrete area here that was here when we moved in. It's really close to the dam, just in front of the house. We've been putting up a pop-up gazebo here in the summer and having barbecues with our friends here. But what we'd like to do is make it more permanent and build some kind of pavilion, so we have a nice cover and it's got fixed sides, so that when it's windy like today we can still use it. So it's definitely project one on the list.
Now we've got quite a few projects that we need to do. As you can see, this is our main house living area. We have an outdoor kitchen area, we have like a chicken house, we have a tool room, and then we have like a big barn area with like a big sliding door. So this is our barn, and it's got a big slidey door. It's got a fiber cement roof, and fiber cement's got an asbestos content. So that's one of the main things that we have to deal with, is we've got this big asbestos roof going all the way and meeting up with the main house, and that covers like our tool room and the chicken house and our outdoor kitchen area. So all of that needs to be done. But before we do that, we have to raise the level of this roof. So raise the bricks up to meet up with the rest of the building. And then that's going to give us a really nice space inside here, which we can use to basically turn into like another little flat or something like that. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a peek inside here. Now, this is a storage area, so we're storing a whole bunch of stuff in here. But just to give you an idea, it's actually a really nice big space. And if we did raise the ceiling, it would give you loads of room. Now the idea here is through this area is like the mountain view, so we could put some big windows in here. We could put like a sort of corner kitchen in this area here, like some sofas in this area. And let me just go somewhere where you can see a little bit better. I'm standing in the opposite corner here, and out those doors is obviously our farm. You've got the forest, so you know you're going to have some beautiful views from inside this area. And it doesn't just end there, it actually goes through into this area here, and this is where I'm thinking of doing a small bedroom and a bathroom on this side. So we could put like a double bed in here, we could put some windows in here, and this area here we could actually put a shower tray, a toilet, a basin, and that would give us an amazing little flat.
One of the other projects is our outside kitchen, which at the minute just has a bread oven in, but we need to do the floor first. As you can see, the concrete is all broken up, so that needs to be redone and maybe tiles put on the top, who knows. But inside we want to have this so it's a proper outdoor kitchen, so in the summer and maybe even in the winter we can cook out here. We've seen these amazing, very Portuguese style outside kitchen areas that has like a sink and a oven and somewhere to cook on the fire, barbecue. We want to move the bread oven and turn it round so it's facing out this way, so that we can have this whole area as a work area for cooking and preparing food. But to do that we obviously need to find a new log store. We need to build a carport for the car, because obviously it gets very hot in the summer, and to protect the car we keep it under here. So we've got lots of things to do just to get this into a workable outside kitchen, but one day.
Now this is the front of our house, our front door's over here, and this is the south facing side of the property. So the sun basically rises on that side, sets on this side, and shines on this part of the house the whole day long. Now in the winter time it's incredibly dark inside this room, and without the sunlight it's really cold as well. So we want to punch a nice big window into this wall, and that'll get some light in there during the winter time. It'll help to warm up the room, Also, Gina suffers from SAD, which is seasonal adjuctive disorder or affective disorder, and it's basically a thing where she gets quite depressed if she doesn't have sunlight reaching her eyeballs. So it's important for us to get that sun in there, but also it's going to have a shutter or a blind on it so that in the summertime we can keep that room nice and dark and nice and cool.
This is a door into our spare room, which is completely separate to the rest of the house. As you can see, it's metal doors, and we had these all through the house until we changed them in the main house. But it's like a heat sink, so in the winter it makes it freezing, and in the summer it makes it boiling, this metal door. And as you can see, inside the spare room, which we're currently using as an office, but we're also using it as a guest room, we have a window with the most beautiful view, but it's single glazed, so we need to get that changed like the rest of the house as well. And then hopefully this room will be more usable because it will be better insulated.
So the next question is about cars, and someone asked, if we bought a left-hand drive car in the UK, would it be worth getting it matriculated or imported into Portugal, or is it better to buy a second-hand car in Portugal? So firstly, cars are mega expensive in Portugal. This Golf, for instance, would set you back second-hand in the UK about £7,000, £8,000, but in Portugal it's about 18,000 euros. So there's a massive difference there. For us it made sense because we were able to import it free of import tax. Now there is a really big import tax on cars, and that's how they keep the sort of second-hand car market so expensive. And basically, if you become a resident in Portugal, you've got 12 months in which you can import a car free of import tax. But there's a whole bunch of hoops that you have to jump through. You have to be able to prove that you've owned that car for at least 6 to 12 months before you moved here. You have to have all sorts of proof, and they really do try and sting you for this tax.
And you probably need to be fluent in Portuguese to be able to understand all of it.
Well, exactly. So you actually have to fight with them, and you have to make sure that, that they accept your evidence, etc. And so for us, because we don't speak Portuguese very well, especially at the time, and we used a guy called Rui, and he basically imports, or he helps you with the importation process, does all the paperwork, and and he was a huge help.
And we'll link his details in the comments below.
So if you read in the description just below this, we're going to put all of his details, email address, phone number. So if you want to import a car, give him a shout, drop him an email, tell him what kind of car you have, and ask him if it's going to be possible, how much it'll cost, etc.
I quite often also get asked about how I find driving a right-hand car in Portugal. For me, it's not an issue. I like driving. I'm a bit of a petrol head, so I actually really enjoy driving, so I don't find it an issue. Sometimes you've got to be careful when you're coming out of certain junctions and if you're overtaking, but you should be a careful driver anyway, so it's not an issue for me.
So the next question is, did you have any farming experience before you started this journey? Not first-hand experience, but I'm a South African. I grew up around the Western Cape area. A lot of my friends own farms, and we used to go on holiday on farms. Like every year we would go to various different places, mainly in the Cederberg. So if any of you guys are from the sort of Western Cape area, you'll probably know where the Cederberg is. And I spent a lot of time there as like a little kid, even in nappies running around places like that. So I've never actually owned a farm before, but I've spent lots of time on them, and I have friends who have farms.
The last house that we owned in England was on farmland, so we were surrounded by farmers and industrial farming, and obviously we weren't involved in that. I did used to grow some vegetables in the back garden, but that's it for my knowledge of farming.
So the next question is, have we been earning enough money from farming activities to not have to dip into our savings anymore? And a very easy answer is no. We earn very little from farming here. We are in our olive grove at the moment, and we've got close to 100 olive trees. And this year, we don't know the exact figure yet, but we will be speaking to our neighbour who helped us with our harvest. But we got about 2 tons worth of olives. Those 2 tons compressed down into about 200 litres of oil, and the sort of going rate is about 20 to 25 euros for 5 litres. So, there's not very much money in olive oil. The other crop that we do is our sort of grape harvest. And we've got some grapevines, but again, that's more for personal consumption. So there's not really that much money in our farm as such, but for us it's more of a case of having a place where we have loads of space around us. We've got the security of having lots of land around us, especially during times like COVID where there's lockdowns, and we also have the ability to grow our own food. Should inflation get out of hand, should the cost of sort of food and everything go completely insane, Gina and I can actually start raising our own livestock, and we can also start producing crops for ourselves and for our neighbours and our friends and family.
One of the questions was, what do you do with the olive oil when you get it back from the lagar? Do you sell it or bathe in it? Well, I don't technically bathe in it, but I do make my own suntan lotion and bug spray and other creams and potions that all need olive oil. So I do technically bathe in it. The next question was, are we going to open up our own farm shop? Well, the answer to that at the minute is no, probably not, but it's a good idea and we might think about it. However, the lovely lady in the village, Christina, and the village shop, we might have some of our products in there to sell so that you can go and buy some of those, but we don't know yet. We're still thinking about it.
So the next question is, should we drive over in our motorhome and camp, or should we rent somewhere and put our furniture in storage as we have a small dog? So in season 1, if you haven't seen it already, we drove through in our motorhome, which is called Bob the motorhome.
Yay.
And we went with our dog, our 2 cats, and it was an epic voyage. But it was very difficult. It's very difficult to share a motorhome with a pet.
3 pets.
Well, with 3, yeah. So, I'm not sure how small your small dog is, but it does add a sort of extra level of difficulty to motorhoming or.
And we were driving it to our rented accommodation, so we knew where we were going. We had a place to go to with the dogs and the cats.
And that place also had a big garage where we could store all of our stuff. And we could use that as a base. One thing you mustn't forget is that Portugal isn't always glorious weather. In the middle of summer, you've got about a month of extreme heat, and then in the winter, you've got a month of extreme cold. And then it kind of gets a little bit mild around that. But even now it's December, and Gina and I are sort of dressed up.
Yeah.
Because it's really cold.
Chilly.
Cerro de Estrella's got snow on the top. It's really icy. So, I think personally, if I was you, I would find a place to rent and drive your camper van there, and then you've got a base. It was such a relief to get off the road, get inside a house where you can have a proper bath and a shower and, just have that space back. So, either option is doable and will work, but for more comfort, I would rent somewhere and try and rent somewhere where you can actually put all of your stuff, so you don't have to have separate storage.
But the choice is yours.
Of course, yeah. The next question is, what is our favorite thing about Portugal? And I would have to say, living on a farm here, coming from South Africa, is the security and the safety that I feel out here. Crime is virtually non-existent. We haven't experienced any issues with it. And we feel really safe here, which is something that you can't say if you live on a farm in South Africa. So that's a real big thing for me.
For me, obviously the glorious weather, not today. But no, really, I think it's the people of Central Portugal.
Definitely.
Are just so friendly and welcoming, and we already feel like we're part of the village community here, which is something you didn't feel that you appreciated in England.
I didn't have that in England, no. So yeah, definitely the people. It's the safety of the country and the friendliness and warmth of the people. So the next question is, have we considered opening up a small campsite? And yes, originally when we first moved here, that was going to be our first sort of money-making thing on the farm. This is our front field, and you've got access to the road here. Just down the road is the Maritaka, which is a huge lake. We've got a beautiful mountain over there. We've got a forest over there. And so this was going to be an amazing space where we could park up some camper vans. We were going to put electrical hookups. And it's also a nice distance away from our house, so we could actually shut it off from the rest of the farmhouse and everything and have this as like a little private motorhome camping area. I think the big thing that really failed for that was the coronavirus lockdowns, and tourism being one of the hardest hit industries. We also can't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. It looks like a lot of countries are going to go back into lockdown again, and so that kind of put a real damper on it. But what it also made us realize is just how much we enjoy having all of this space around us and how much we enjoy having all this privacy around us, especially as our YouTube channel is starting to grow in size and popularity.
The next question is, how long is winter? Well, here in Central Portugal you definitely get 4 seasons, and each of those seasons last 3 months. Although for 3 of those seasons you can definitely wear t-shirts for the most of that. However, as you can tell, we're now starting to come into winter, so it is going to get sometimes to freezing levels, and in the summer sometimes it gets to 40 degrees, So you definitely have all of the seasons here.
And the next question is there a way to know if a town has a market, bakery or butcher? That's a good question. I'm not sure exactly if there's a way that you know that, apart from using Google Maps. Like Google Maps on your phone or on your computer, and you search for that town, and then once you're on that town you can do a search for around that area and obviously put in market or butcher. I think that's going to be your most reliable way of finding that out.
The next question was, how do we compare the length of winter here in central Portugal to that in England? Well, I can tell you, in England winter feels like it lasts most of the year with like 2 summer days in my opinion, and here in central Portugal, like I said earlier, winter isn't that bad. Yes, you get some freezing days, but for the most part you can be outside in a jumper and a woolly hat and it's okay. But I am just starting to feel rain now, so we might need to go inside. It's getting really chilly outside and I think it's just about to start raining, so I thought I'd take this opportunity to come inside and answer the next question, which is, are you learning Portuguese? And the answer to that, of course, is yes, we're learning Portuguese. We purchased an app from Portuguese with Carla, which is called The Journey, and it's taken me through lots of different exercises to help me learn Portuguese, and I'm finding it really useful because those activities within this are quite varied. I'm also using, normally when I'm in bed at night time, an app called, which my phone has just gone to sleep, an app called Ling, and this is really good for punctuation and pronunciation. Sorry, should I say, I don't know why I get those. See, I can't speak Portuguese and I can't speak English either anymore, so I'm a bit stuck. But we have an affiliate link for both of those, which we'll put in the description below. We do get a little kickback if you join either of them, but give them a look anyway, it's free to have a look. The other question relating to that was, do we find learning Portuguese easier because we're submerged in the culture? And there's two sides to that. Yes, of course, we're surrounded by people who speak Portuguese. However, we live on a farm that is outside of the village and kilometres away from our nearest neighbours. So we often don't see people for days and days on end. It's not like we live in a big city or we're working with lots of other Portuguese people. The other side is that since we've been here, we've been in lockdowns or when people have been wearing masks, and it's very difficult to learn a language when you can't see people's mouths moving. That sounds weird, but it's true. So most of our interactions are when we go to the supermarket or to the shops, and most of that is bom dia, boa tarde, obrigada, and we're not really getting past that on the community side of it. So yes, it does help, but it's not the be all and end all. We're going to have to do some extra lessons. The next question is, and probably our most frequently asked question is, when are we going to be selling our stickers? Well, of course you can pop over to Patreon and have a look, because you get them free once you subscribe to us on Patreon. But we are also going to put them on our Etsy page, and we have different ones. So we have fridge magnets and we have ones with the animals on and our little circles. We're going to sell them in a bundle because it'll be easier to post them out and hopefully cheaper for your guys. And of course it's a bit of support for us. So go and check out the Etsy page and the Patreon page and have a look.
So we've moved inside, we've put on our slippers, and we've made ourselves a nice log fire.
You can see now why we want the window in this wall here.
Yeah.
Because it'd make it nice and bright in here.
Oh, it'd be lovely. And not only that, but we would get like a view of the forest over there. We would have lots of sunlight coming in and keeping us warm. So yeah, it would be awesome. The next question is, you have a log burner in the lounge. How do you heat the rest of the house? So yeah, it's a tricky one. This is kind of our only method of heat for the whole house, but we can get this room up to like 27 degrees quite easily in the winter, and like even in the middle of winter. And some of that heat does go down the passage and towards the bedrooms and the bathroom. But generally speaking, the only way that we keep the bedrooms warm are an electric blanket. And
they are a godsend. If you're coming to Central Portugal from England, bring one with you or buy one out here. Yeah. But honestly, they're like the best thing ever.
Oh, they're amazing. For that sort of 3 months of winter where it starts to get a bit cold, to be able to turn that on and get your bed nice and toasty and warm. Also, if it's damp, if you've got a damp property, it helps to keep the bed dry.
Yeah.
We've even got this one over here, which is an actual blanket like a throw, and it's also electric and it heats up. and our cats love it.
Yeah,
So,
I can't get the cats off it.
yeah. So to be honest, it's not that much of an issue. I mean, we were thinking at some stage to get air conditioning units in each room that do hot and cold, and then for that sort of 1 month of the year where it's really cold, you can obviously just blast some warm air into the room.
And we're hoping to open up the fireplace a bit more as well, so that we have an exposed
Chimney flue.
that's
Yeah.
the word.
Yeah, so we want to knock this whole thing away here so that we have got like a big stainless steel pipe going up, and that's going to radiate tons of heat out.
The next question is, what did you fear most about moving to Portugal? For me, I don't really think I had a specific fear. I was just quite happy to come and do it and see how it went, and would cross each bridge as it came. We were worried about running out of money because we knew for the first part of it that we'd be living off our savings. I don't know, did you have any fears?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it was probably about failing, about coming all the way out here and not actually achieving what we set out to do, and having to go back to England, having to go back to my job, which I hated, and having to basically admit to myself that I failed and that I couldn't do it. And so that was like the scariest thing. And then obviously after that would probably be running out of money. That was top on our list when we didn't have like an income source or anything like that. So the next question is, did you use an estate agent, solicitor or building inspector when we bought our property? No, we didn't. Basically, we were meeting with an estate agent in Castelo Branco, Paulo from Remax in Castelo Branco, and we were just meeting with him to see some other properties, and they just so happened to have this property on their books. They came in with a piece of paper and said, hey, what do you think of this? And we drove through, and we loved it so much that we decided to put an offer in right there and then. We didn't use a building inspector. It's a very basic building. We could see that there was no damage with it. We could see it's been around for a while, and so we didn't really feel that that was necessary. We also didn't want to wait around because it's such a good farm and it was such a good price that the last thing we wanted to do was wait around for building inspections and stuff, and then someone else buys it from under us. And we didn't use a solicitor because we only used a notary. I mean, basically the notary has to check all of the documents anyway, and all of the documents existed for our property because the property had only been sold a few years before that. And the sellers were Remax in Castelo Branco, so they had the entire pack, all the documents ready, and it was a pretty easy process. Now, I'm not saying that you should do the same thing. It's possible that you can get yourself into trouble if you don't check over things properly. But Gina and I kind of did our homework, and we were very fortunate with Paulo from Remax as well. Everything that he said to us was 100%. Yeah, it was true and right, and it all worked out perfectly for us. Now, the next question is, what has been the most difficult challenge you have faced living on your farm in Central Portugal?
The cold. Definitely the winters and the cold. I was very unprepared for how cold the houses would be in Central Portugal. And the day we moved in, I'm sure, well, it's definitely on a video, maybe we can link it up. The day we moved into this farm was in one of the biggest storms they'd had in 10 years. Yeah. And that was horrific. That was definitely the time when I felt like packing my bags and going back to England. But we just carried on, and we've dealt with all of the difficulties.
Yeah. And if you had to do your move all over again, would you change anything?
Yes. There's one thing that I would definitely do different, and I would buy a four-wheel drive car in England and have that matriculated over here, because cars are just so expensive in Portugal that if we'd done that rather than having the Golf, then we'd have a farm vehicle. Yeah,
because to buy like a Toyota Hilux or a L200 Mitsubishi or a Nissan Navara here, you're looking at a very old second-hand one with tons of mileage. You're looking at a minimum of 10,000 euros. And that's for an old year 2000 model. If you want something more recent, like a 2010, 2015, then you're looking at 20,000 plus. So, yeah, it is a big regret of ours for sure.
Yeah, that's the only one though.
Yeah. And then the next question is, do your dogs get ticks from the sheep, or do the chickens gobble them all up?
They do get ticks in the spring, particularly.
Yeah, mainly spring is the bad one.
Yeah, mainly because we've got long grass. So not necessarily from the sheep, because the sheep aren't on the land at that time of the year. It's just the long grass, really. But
But around the house, we like to keep the grass cut to a level so that it's not so tall, and then we don't seem to have a problem. So I think that potentially the chickens are patrolling around and they're gobbling them all up. We did have, when we first moved in, we saw like the skeletons, well not the skeletons, the exoskeletons of big centipedes inside the house, and we were terrified of like, oh no, because these things can give you a nasty sting. And since we moved in and we've had chickens running around, we haven't seen a single centipede. So I think they've made a massive difference. And then the next question is, how would you rate and compare vet prices to the UK?
Actually, talking about ticks and vet prices, the dogs can have injections or wear collars that protect them against the ticks. But the vets here are probably a third of the price than what they are in England.
Or a quarter of the price even.
They're so much better value for money than in England. And obviously 3 of our pets are all getting quite old now, so they're needing, it seems like every other week, I have to take one or the other of them to the vets to get checkups and jabs and stuff. And the vets are wonderful. Our vets are the most amazing
in Castelo Branco
ever. They're great.
Vet Geral in Castelo Branco, fantastic. But don't all go at the same time, otherwise we'll never get an appointment. And the next question is, can you explain the process of what you did first in moving or planning to move to Portugal? It's kind of, what happened was a midlife crisis on my birthday and just deciding that enough was enough and that we're finally just going to bite the bullet and we're going to move. And it didn't really matter where we moved. I just wanted to get away from the way that my life currently was. And we had been looking at Italy, France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, South Africa, Thailand, and all these different countries. And at that stage, I just said to Gina, I can't do this anymore. We have to make a change. We need to pick one of these countries and we need to do it right now. And so it was kind of a very rushed thing. It was very rushed, but it was something that we had been talking about for like 10 years. Every time winter came along, we were like, oh, I can't be dealing with this winter anymore. I just can't stand this anymore. We've got a mortgage, we've got debts, we've got all of this on top of us. There has to be another way of doing this. And so, there was a bit of planning, I guess. The planning was knowing a handful of countries that we wanted to go to, and then just getting fed up and going, right, pick one, bang, Portugal, there we go. And then I think we visited twice. We went...
we visited the first time, decided we definitely wanted to come here, and the second time was to get a rented property, because I wanted that so that I knew we were leaving one house to go to another house because of the dog mainly and the cats. So that was kind of the only planning we did, really. Everything else happened very quickly and we kind of just did it and rolled with it as it went. I think if we'd planned it too closely, we probably never would have done it.
No, exactly. If you talk about something too much, it can just overcomplicate things. And sometimes you have to just go for it. So the next question is, how difficult or easy is it to relocate with Brexit now? And has it made a difference? So, obviously Brexit only really affects people who have British passports and live in the UK. And a lot of our viewers aren't from the UK. But it's made a difference in the fact that you can't just visit Europe anymore without a visa. I think you can come on a holiday, and I think you can stay for like 3 months or something.
90 days, isn't it?
So 90 days. But apart from that, if you actually want to live here, be a resident, if you want to work here, then you need to have a visa. And there's quite a few different options. There's the D7 visa, if you have a passive income or a pension or something like that. There's, if you're incredibly wealthy, then you've got the golden visa. There's different business visas, like a startup visa. If you work for a company, you can get a company to sponsor you so that you can come and stay here and be a resident. I think you can get student visas. So there are a few different options. But that's the main difference, is you can't just come here anymore. We got here on the very sort of edge of the limit of doing it, just like before Brexit happened. 2 months
before Brexit.
Yeah. And so they've honoured our sort of residency status. And the next question is, what are the steps for expats to purchase a house? Okay, well, basically anyone can buy a house in Portugal. You just have to have a NIF number. And a NIF number is your Número Identificação Fiscal or something, which is your identification or your fiscal identification number. And
just so you pay tax,
yeah,
really.
so it's a tax number. The tax
Yeah.
man wants to know, what have you spent your money on, how much was it, and how much do we get? And so, yeah, as long as you have one of those, and you can get one of those in like 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Yeah, you can even get one
at
of
a tax
those
office.
if you still live in another country. You don't have to be resident in Portugal to
Yeah.
get one.
Yeah, you can also do that, yeah. And so you basically get one of those NIF numbers, and then you can buy a property. And you don't even have to speak to an estate agent to buy a property. You could buy one off OLX or, Facebook Marketplace. But essentially, if you're not here, you want to go through a reputable estate agent, you want to have your NIF number, and then you can buy a property. It's very simple. The next question is, what are your monthly bills and living costs? Okay, so it's kind of a tricky one, really. It's quite a detailed one to go into in this one sort of episode.
Maybe if you want to, we might be able to do a more detailed video just about that.
Like monthly costs, yeah.
Subject.
Yeah.
Because it's quite, obviously everybody's different and you all live to different levels of comfort.
Yeah.
So, but we tend to be, it's about €1,000 a month, and that's because...
And 999 euros of that is Ken's beer.
Not quite, but I'm sure we could drink all of that. In fact, wasn't that one of the questions? How much beer could you drink in a...
Yeah, it's how much beer could you drink in a week if you really tried. Now, that sounds like a challenge, first of all.
No.
Yeah, no, basically, I think the real question is, how much beer could I drink in a week if Gina really let me?
Yeah.
Obviously lots.
Anyway, back to the monthly costs. It's kind of food, what would you say? Food, probably...
Oh, it's a tricky one. I would just say, let's keep it simple. We're basically living off about $1,000 a month. We don't have a mortgage, we don't have credit card bills or debts or anything like that. Electricity's between 50 and 100, depending on the season of the year, and whether or not our solar panels are heating water or whether the water heater is heating
and then
water.
We've got like phone contracts and internet contracts. And
So the internet, and so we get our internet through a 4G SIM card. So it's kind of like a mobile phone internet, but it plugs inside a router box that's got Wi-Fi, and that supplies our entire property with internet. And we get about 70 meg download speed, 10 to 15 meg upload speed. And that comes along with a satellite TV box called a Mio TV box. I think we've got 120 channels that we never watch. And then we've got 2 mobile phones with SIM cards with 10 gigabytes each. But we hardly ever use that because we're always on the farm. We're always using our unlimited Wi-Fi. And that comes in at about $79.99 a month.
And we eat out
at least
or twice a week.
And then our property tax. €60 a year. I can't believe it, €60 a year, and we've got 3.5 hectares. You don't get charged very much for agricultural land, but you do get charged a bit more for urban land.
But the urban land on this property is the house.
Yeah, it's literally it's like the footprint of the house is the urban, is that urban plot. And then the next question is, how easy have you found it to make new friends over there apart from other YouTubers?
I'm quite a social person. I like going out and seeing people and having different people to talk to. So I started doing yoga courses when I first came out here at Keela Yoga Farm, which was very nice, and I met quite a lot of people there, and I'm still really friends with those. And none of those were Keela Yoga Farms on YouTube, but the other friends that I made aren't on, and we go out with different people, and obviously the ones you see are the other YouTube people, but they're not our friends because they're on YouTube. They were our friends
because
before.
I think when you move to a country, to like a whole new country, and you're not from that country and you're not a native speaker, you get drawn towards people that have similar sort of qualities to you. Like, so if you find that someone else has also just moved here and they also have a YouTube channel, they've got similar struggles and things going on, then you're kind of drawn to each other. It's not necessarily because they have YouTube channels as such. But it does seem these days as if everyone has now got a YouTube channel in Portugal. So, soon it'll be like, can you make friends over there with people who don't have a YouTube channel is probably the question.
Yeah.
But,
and you have a friendship with Sergio, the farmer's son, don't you? So we have friendships
hello,
with, with the locals as well. So it's just you get to see
Yeah, you get to see like a fraction of it.
Yeah.
I mean, bear in mind that when you watch these videos, you're watching 20 minutes out of an entire week of our lives, generally speaking. Apart from this episode, which has been, you know, however long it is that part. But, you know, when we do like our regular vlogs and you follow us around, that's 20 minutes out of our entire life. And so, yeah, a lot more stuff goes on in the background where we don't have cameras rolling and stuff like that. And yeah, and then the next question is about cameras rolling. It says, do you have a script to plan your shots? Did you learn about editing before the YouTube channel? So no, we don't have a script. I mean, for something like this, a Q&A, what I've done is I've taken all the answers, all the questions from our YouTube channel, from Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and we've put them together so that we can obviously ask them in an ordered way, but we don't have a script or anything for how we're going to answer. And when we do our regular vlog episodes, we don't really have a script either. We have an idea of what we're doing for the day.
I was going to say, you research sometimes when we do our days out, you
Yeah.
research the area and just so it's more interesting
Yeah,
for
so
you
like,
to watch.
yeah, like if we're going to go to the castle and we're going to film the castle, I'll go to the Wikipedia page and I'll get like a couple of facts and figures and things like that, so that when we're actually showing you the castle, it's not just like, here's a castle, this is a wall, you know. But apart from that, we don't have a script or anything as such. And did I learn about editing before the YouTube channel? No, I didn't. I did actually have a YouTube channel before this, which I used to have.
Keeping.
Yeah, it was for my monster fish tank. I used to keep really big fish, mainly from South America, and I had like big eels and all sorts of stuff.
Don't get him started on talking fish. You'll be here for hours.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's something that I definitely want to get again, is a massive fish tank, like a 2-3 meter big fish tank, and start keeping fish again. But for that wasn't really, I never really used to edit stuff. I kind of started a genre on YouTube where it was putting music with fish, and now a lot of channels are doing that now. So I think that was my background in it. And then the final question on editing is, how do I choose the soundtrack? Okay, well, as you probably know from watching my videos, I like to sync video to music. So you'll often see like I time everything so that like when I'm chopping wood, it chops at the same time as the beat of the music or something like that. And yeah, it does take me a long time to actually find the right music for the right bit of video. I use SoundCloud, I use Epidemic Sound, and I use another site called Soundstripe. And I've got subscriptions to all of those sites. They're not paying me to say this, but they have an online royalty-free catalog of music that you can use. Because if I was just to use radio music, then YouTube would basically give me something called a copyright strike, and I wouldn't get any of the revenue from these videos. And obviously Gina and I survive on the revenue from these videos and from our property viewings and things like that. So yeah, so you've got to use a royalty-free site, like the ones I mentioned, and then I just browse through the site. I have an idea in my head of what that video clip looks like, and sometimes it can take me like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, an hour.
Can I just add that that's some of the monthly outgoings that we have is obviously the subscriptions that you have for your software editing, and all of those things start to add up. So even though we're producing free videos for you, there is quite a cost behind those. Yeah,
I mean, I use Adobe Premiere, and the sort of the Premiere whole pack or anything that I'm using is about $69.99 a month. And then you've got your subscriptions, which are about $10 each to these music services. And so it does start to add up, you know, and then you've got to buy lenses and cameras and batteries and, keep evolving and stuff like that. But it's well worth it. If you're thinking of getting into video editing, I thoroughly enjoy it. And yeah, it's very rewarding. That takes us to the end. All of the questions are done.
Wow, I thought there was more than that.
I did as well, yeah. I have no idea how long this video is because we've been out and about and doing all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
but
well, I hope you enjoyed us answering some of their questions. And if there's anything that you want us to go into more detail about, maybe we can do some specific videos about those. Let us know in the comments below. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Ciao. Bye.